the way we understood bundles, we don't believe legally, and certainly not in the spirit of what we navigated for over a decade to streaming services, that Spotify can do what it did. They got rid of individual music plans. We don't think they can do that. And just have a bundle. Then they bundled music with audiobooks, not movies, nothing else. And they limited the subscriber's ability to listen to the audiobooks to 15 hours a month. So there's a formula by which the money is now divided between audiobooks and music. Translation, without getting deep into the weeds, $150 million every year less to songwriters.
Welcome to the Songwriting Chronicles, a podcast about, you guessed it, songwriting. Join me, your host, Sundi Jo, as I take you on a journey through the world of songwriting, where I'll share my personal experiences as a songwriter, interview other songwriters and industry pros, and provide valuable tips, tools, and tricks to help you achieve your songwriting goals. If you're in the songwriting world, you've probably already heard the latest Spotify controversy. If not, hey, that's okay. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to dive deeper into this with our guest, Bart Herbison of the Nashville Songwriters Association International, say that 3 times fast, otherwise known as NSAI. We're also going to touch on AI and how that is affecting the songwriting world. So here's a quick summary on the Spotify take before we go into the deep dive into today's interview. So on March 1st, Spotify added access to audiobooks to its standard subscription and included a product that says it qualifies as a quote-unquote bundle under the legal settlement of the Phono Records 4 rate setting procedure with the National Music Publishers Association, which is also known as the NMPA. So then it says the settlement says it allocates part of the subscription cost to the audiobook piece of the bundle in order to qualify for a lower payment to publishers. So, is it okay? Well, the NMPA says it's not. NSAI says it's not. And most recently, the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, says it's not, and they have filed legal action. So, what does all of this mean for songwriters? That is just what Bart Herbison is going to spell out for us in today's episode. So Bart is executive director of the Nashville Songwriters Association International, the world's largest not-for-profit songwriters trade organization and advocacy group dedicated to the songwriting profession. He worked as a reporter and spent 14 years in radio as a correspondent for the Nashville Banner newspaper before joining the administration of former Tennessee Governor Ned McWhorter as Deputy Director of Communications in 1987. Bart joined the staff of U.S. Representative Bob Clement in 1988, where he served as the Tennessee Congressman's press secretary, campaign manager, and chief Tennessee administrative officer, before leaving Capitol Hill for Music Row in 1997. I mean, can you think of anybody else better that needs to be fighting for songwriters in Congress than a man who's literally worked in Congress? I can't think of anybody else. Under Herbison's leadership, NSAI has gained prominence in the national legislative arena. Just a few of his accomplishments include adoption of the Music Modernization Act in 2018, which is the most important copyright law reform for songwriters in decades. I repeat, decades. He helped create the Mechanical License Collective, as we've talked about, the MLC. He helped in the creation of the first ever group copyright infringement insurance for songwriters and music publishers. He was part of the acquisition of the world-famous Bluebird Cafe in 2008, as well as the purchase of the Music Mill Studios at NSAI headquarters in 2005. Take a deep breath. And that's just to name a few of his accomplishments. He also, in 2018, received 2 prestigious national honors for his songwriter advocacy work, the Industry Legacy Award for the National Music Publishers Association and the IP Champions Award from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Global Innovation Policy Center. He serves on the board of directors of the Mechanical Licensing Collective as well. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation with Bart Herbison. Bart, thanks for hanging out with us today. I know you've got a full, crazy schedule with all you're doing, so I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
How many times do people go, Sunday, Sunday?
More than you can count.
I love it. And I love that name. And I love the spelling of it, Sunday. I've never
Thank
seen
you.
it this way. Yeah.
You don't find it on a keychain or a license plate, I'll tell you that.
You should trademark it.
I should. When I was
There you
a
go.
kid, I hated it. Now I love it because it's
And
mine.
by the way, what a music name, Sundi
Right?
Jo. I mean,
Right?
seriously, you couldn't
Yeah.
make that up.
I used to work in radio, and people would always say, "Is that your radio name or your real name?" I'm like, "That's it."
I was Bart Simpson. Bart the Fart thinks he's smart. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
we can say that. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
very proud. I'm named for both my grandpas, but it's kind of like a boy named Sue. I got tough with my name.
Right? Right?
Up. Yeah.
I bet. That's awesome. Well, we've got a lot to dive into.
Yeah.
So unless, we've been living under a rock, we're well aware that Spotify is doing some things that don't make us too happy in the songwriting world. And so I just want to talk about that today.
Sure.
With this new bundling option that they've brought forth. Just, I know you've got a lot of things on it. I have questions, but I'm sure you might not even need them. So just take it away.
Okay. Well, first, the listener who's not in the industry, and even those that are, need to understand a basic principle. When you listen to a song, there's two very different copyrights. There's the song Sunday writes, and there's the record somebody makes of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when Taylor Swift pulls her songs, she can't pull the song. It's under this ugly rule from 1909 called a compulsory license. The first time the writer lets it be released, it's compulsory after that. Anybody can release it anytime they want to, as long as they pay the ridiculously low government set rates. But the records aren't under these same rules. You can take the record off. If we could take the song off, we would not be having this conversation. So understand that, because I get asked that question a lot.
Okay.
So us and the National NSAI and the National Music Publishers Association went through two brutal trials that lasted 10 years. They typically last 5, but there was an appeal. Spotify led the appeal, and we won a pretty good pay raise, but still not nearly enough because streaming still pays very little. But you could go Sunday, till not long ago, to Spotify and buy a music plan.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy a family plan, pay a couple dollars more a month, and more people can listen to it. Or you could buy a discounted student plan. They got rid of all of those because another formulaic way we get paid for streaming is from a bundle. Now, if it's Amazon, we get a piece of the Prime membership. So we do okay on that
Mm-hmm.
kind of bundle. The way we understood bundles, we don't believe legally, and certainly not in the spirit of what we navigated for over a decade with the streaming services, that Spotify can do what it did. They got rid of individual music plans. We don't think they can do that. And just have a bundle. Then they bundled music with audiobooks, not movies, nothing else. And they limited the subscribers' ability to listen to the audiobooks to 15 hours a month. So there's a formula by which the money is now divided between audiobooks and music.
Mm-hmm.
Translation, without getting deep into the weeds, $150 million every year less to songwriters. And Spotify and the streaming services still don't pay us much anyway.
Right.
So it was a loophole. We have done several things Sunday since they did that. And they did it unannounced, by the way. The darkness, they just did it under cover of the night, which is,
Sure.
that tells you a lot. Spotify's actions speak volumes.
Right.
So the first thing that happened is our partner in these trials, the National Music Publishers Association, and a shout out to them and David Israelite because they're
Mm-hmm.
brilliant in what they do, told Spotify, while we're trying to navigate this ridiculous thing you did, we've looked at lyric licenses. When you see the lyrics scroll and you don't have the lyrics licensed like you're supposed to, some are done, some are not. Get ready for a lawsuit on those. You wanted to start something, you fired the bullet, get ready for it.
Right.
Now, this is going to get in the weeds for non-songwriters again, but Sunday makes two kind of royalties, not as the artist, as the songwriter. One is a performance royalty. If Sundi performs in a live venue, streaming, radio, she will become a member of a performing rights society. The big ones in the US are ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. She
Hmm.
will join one of those. They will collect her performance money and pay them to her. We never had an agency to do that for your mechanical royalties. Back from 1909, that royalty was named after mechanical player piano rolls. And the idea was for physical products. Back then, it was the wax cylinders that Thomas Edison had just invented.
Hmm.
It went to 78 RPM records, albums, singles, 45s, 8 tracks, reel to reel tapes, cassettes, CD, and vinyl. And the idea was, since you got to control how many times you listen to a song versus maybe some DJ playing it, that royalty was a little bigger. On subscription music, we still have both of those Sunday. If it's radio only, Pandora Radio, you only get a performance. You don't control the playlist.
Right.
But if it's interactive streaming, where you interact with the streaming company, build your playlist, and listen to Sundi Jo Graham's, that song of yours I just heard that I love, 1,000,000 times, you get both royalties. So that's a lot. You see how complicated this
Mhm.
is, even for people that are in the industry.
Oh yeah, it makes your brain
So
hurt real quick.
so that's the royalty we're talking about with Spotify. It's the mechanical royalty. And so we created a new agency to collect those royalties, like ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC collect performances. Now something called the Mechanical Licensing Collective,
Mhm.
or MLC. I'm on that board. It's in Nashville. They collect those royalties. They have sued Spotify in federal court in New York City. They are telling Spotify, we don't believe this qualifies as a bundle under the definition that we understand. So there's that lawsuit. Then this week, NMPA and NSAI are announcing we are going to try to change these laws in Congress. Here's the thing, Sunday. For the most part, record labels set their prices in the free market. If they want to pull their songs from Spotify or anything else, they can do it.
Right.
We cannot. The government sets our rates through a copyright royalty board tribunal and through judges that they appoint to set your performance rates. Now, we would have probably introduced this legislation a little later because there are going to be a lot of people that oppose this. Anybody that pays for music, they're going to try to stop us to some degree because they don't want to pay more for music. But Spotify gave us an open door for this. I was in DC all week, the week before we taped this, and your Congresswoman Graham. And this is what I would do. I would tell them, I would explain it to Spotify, and I go, you got to fix this for us. They
Mhm.
go, I've got to fix it. Why do I have to fix it? Because you set the rules. And I'd go, or let us fix it. Well, we're for that. Let you fix it. Then you've got to change the law. And here's what we're going to propose. Let us, under the Mechanical Licensing Collective, not be bound by the government rate. Let the publishers go negotiate it, and we will get a much fairer price, and we'll still let the MLC do all the paperwork and administrate it. Now, that's going to take a longer time, but those are what we've said so far, and there are more efforts to circle Spotify. Look, Sunday, there's other streaming service. There's Apple, Amazon,
Mhm.
Google, Tidal, and they're better players, particularly Apple. They've been better players. They want to be partners with us.
Yeah.
Spotify's been greedy since day one. And let their actions speak for themselves. First of all, they did this without telling anybody. Okay.
Yeah. So we know it
The
wasn't just an accident. Like, oops.
No, the minute they do this, their founder, Daniel Ek, we're going to get paid 150 million less a year. Cash is in stock for 118 million.
Mm.
And just before that and after, a total of 180 million. He cashes in more stock than we're going to lose. And there's
Wow.
always been some illustration of Spotify not wanting, look, we don't get paid that much anyway. Record labels get way more than the songwriters and do. And their copyright gets more than our copyright does. I should
Mhm.
say it that way, and we didn't get much to begin with, even with these raises. What we're hoping is streaming grows enough where it really starts to be real money Sunday.
Yeah. Attention, songwriter. Are you ready to revolutionize your creative process? Look no further than the Full Focus Planner, the ultimate tool for unlocking your songwriting potential. Say goodbye to scattered ideas and hello to structured success. The Full Focus Planner is designed specifically for songwriters like you, providing a comprehensive system to set clear goals, plan your songwriting sessions, and bring your best work to life. Don't just dream about your next masterpiece. Make it a reality. With the Full Focus Planner, you'll have a dedicated space to capture your inspirations, outline your song structures, and track your progress, all in one organized and streamlined place. No more lost melodies, no more forgotten lyrics. But that's not all. The Full Focus Planner goes beyond traditional planners. It incorporates proven productivity strategies to help you manage your time effectively, eliminate distractions, and stay focused on what truly matters, which is your music. Join me in calling the Full Focus Planner our secret weapon for success. It's like having a personal assistant, a creative coach, and a taskmaster all in one. It has honestly transformed how I approach my songwriting journey, and I cannot imagine my process without it. So whether you're a seasoned songwriter with a string of hits or you're just starting out on your musical path, the Full Focus Planner is the game changer that you've been searching for. It empowers you to establish a consistent routine, maintain momentum, and confidently achieve your songwriting goals. So if you're ready to level up your songwriting, which I believe you are, my friend, visit the show notes and grab your Full Focus Planner today. And as a special treat for you, use code SundiJo10, that's SUNDIJO 10, at checkout for $10 off your order. And I will share the link in the show notes for you. Elevate your songwriting journey with the Full Focus Planner, because your songs deserve nothing but the best.
Do the math. Look at their actions. And here's what I'm leading to. One word, greed. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They are breaking the backs of the people that make them bajillions. And by the way, they did this right after they announced record profits of over $1 billion. That's where we're at.
Yeah. I just want to say that number again, just to process that. $150 million less.
Yes. And by the way, Sunday, that's going to take us back maybe before we ever went to these trials.
Right.
Let me give you an illustration. We did a big event back, I don't know, it's been maybe 10 years ago now, before a big congressional hearing. Lee Miller, Desmond Child, B.C. Jean, Cara DiAguardi, and Linda Perry, 5 writers. Your listeners probably never heard of any of them, but they've heard of the songs. You're Gonna Miss This, Beautiful, these amazing songs, Living on a Prayer.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't say a word. The writers went in and played one song each and gave an emotional story. I'll never forget the great Linda Perry talking about, I never felt beautiful. And that's why I wrote this song. When I heard Christina sing it, I was beautiful. And she sang it. We're all in tears. After they get through, 2 screens come up. These writers wrote this song with another writer, and they each have a publisher. Translation, they each get 25% of the royalties on each of these songs. Now, we've made it a little better than this now, but for 35 million streams, they each made $185. And Daniel Ek wants to take 150 million more away. Sunday, there's a song played at your wedding, at your funeral, at graduation. I'm going to a niece's graduation tonight. Probably involved in your conception. Music is all around the beautiful times in our lives, but there are, and we're going to do this.
Right.
We don't make a scad of money. And I should point this out. You're also a great artist, Sunday, but a lot of songwriters aren't. And if you're just a songwriter, not the artist, you don't get any of the ticket sales. You don't get the merch. You don't get the branding. You get these minuscule royalties that Spotify wants to steal from us. So we're asking the public, cancel Spotify. Go find another music subscription. We're not going to say which one, but I will tell you over the past few years, Apple Music has demonstrated they probably care about us more than the others.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I don't think the other streaming services are very happy with this because we're all trying to figure out how to grow this pie together Sunday. And
Right.
then this kind of stuff happens, and it's constantly something with Spotify.
Yeah, I think that what you just said, we're all trying to learn how to grow this pie together. I think that those are some powerful words. And like you said,
Yeah.
Spotify's actions speak louder. I mean, it's definitely a reminder that we are not in this as songwriters for the money.
Well, but you should be able to pay your family's bills.
Oh yeah, that'd be
And
amazing.
back when there were more songs on the radio, more record labels, you could make a decent middle income living. And a few did really, really well. But let's remember, we don't share in any of that artist income.
Yeah,
And streaming pays way less per song than radio ever paid. So to do this, when we're just finally starting to breathe a little bit, Sunday, the few songwriters that are left who aren't the artists, it's tragic. I have to be careful what I want to say
sure.
because it's just, I've used the word evil. And again, judge by the history of Spotify,
Yeah,
judge by their founder cashing in millions of stocks right after we get paid less. It's abhorrent.
yeah. You do you have like an estimated time frame of how many years this battle might take in getting things changed in Congress?
Well, I can tell you this eternally for Spotify's benefit of the doubt, they've lost it. They've lost it from me. I can't even speak for every member of NSAI or our board. They get no more benefit of the doubt from us, and the other streaming services will.
Yeah,
Look, it's in courts. The trials took 10 years. I don't see this taking anywhere that long, but it's in the court. It's going to take a few minutes.
sure, absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you before we go any further for all that you do and NSAI does to fight for
Well,
songwriters.
you run one of our chapters. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
spreading this message, and thank you for it. Because do you feel that thing in your gut being twisted? It's the knife Spotify stuck in it. But I'm
Yes,
serious.
yeah.
I'm
No,
going to
no,
ask
you're
you a
right.
question. I'm going to ask you a question. If we can flip the script for a
Sure,
minute.
let's do it.
From your seat, how demoralizing is this, Sunday?
Absolutely, it's a slap in the face to everything that we do. Again, I mean, I don't obviously do it for the money.
You're
If I
making me want to cry. This is who y'all are killing, y'all, right
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Sunday, who's trying to eke out a living for some of the things that she does that touch people's soul. It's wrong.
Yeah,
It's got
you're
me.
right.
Look, I'm not happy about it. I'm John McEnroe. I get emotional for a minute and then it's on. Y'all started it. I'm just saying.
Injustice, yes, and
Just
fight for
saying.
the underdog.
Well,
So, let's talk for a second. What advice do you have for aspiring songwriters who are navigating the complexities of the music industry today?
well, I don't say this as a pitch. Join NSAI. And I make no
Absolutely.
promises. Here's the promise I make you. If your dream is a big record deal or publishing deal, very few will get it. Less than 1% will ever even see that line.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do promise you is you will be part of a family and a community through NSAI that speak your language. We'll know that at 3 a.m. and we'll tell your spouse, you really do have to get up and write that idea right then when it's visited on you.
Yeah.
You'll get a family, but part of what you're also going to get is to understand how this works.
Yeah.
Sunday, I see people move to Nashville all the time. I'm going to be a songwriter. Well, you're probably not. I'm going to make a living on it. Well, and then I ask them some basic questions like, what is a performing rights society? What is sound exchange for the artist? And they have no idea. So the advice, a long-winded route to say, understand the business of this.
Yes.
The music part you've got.
Yeah.
Few understand the business. You are making a life decision and don't even know how you're going to get paid. And we will help you do that.
Yeah. Can't run on dreams alone. That's for sure.
Well, oil and gasoline help drive it, right?
Right? I spent $20 just on breakfast this morning. I don't remember what I got. So,
Just saying. Well, let's see. That'd be about, what would that be? About 40 million streams from Spotify. But
wow.
serious, I want to put that in context, people.
Yeah.
It's
That's deep.
ridiculous. It's not
Well,
like they had just announced record profits, and it wasn't like we were skimming it all off the top. We had just done a little better. It was a little sign of hope Sunday. That's
like
all
you
it
said,
was. And
yeah.
now we're all looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
So,
like you said, you finally just had a minute to catch your breath, and then they knocked the wind out of the sails again.
well, and the other streaming services too. We were having conversations that I had dreamed of having that we really couldn't have under the dark shadow of litigation for 10 years.
Yeah.
We want to all figure out how to make this work. Well, let me say it. Most of us.
Yeah.
Not Spotify.
I would say the majority, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk, let's switch gears for just a second and talk about this other elephant in the room, AI. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, first it was piracy, then it was low streaming rates and Spotify, now this. And look, let's be realistic. Unlike Spotify, there is a very promising side to AI, even in the music industry. People don't think about this, writers. You've used AI for 20 years if you had a digital rhyming dictionary, really. So, Jamie Moore is a member of our board, a friend, and a fantastic, brilliant guy. And he was the first one I heard use the word, we got to put some guardrails around it. We got out in front of this in a way I've never seen this industry do, Sunday. Specifically, the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, led this charge. Recording Academy did too. For a bill in Tennessee that we really helped on because it's in our backyard.
Yeah.
Tennessee is one of only 3 states, Sunday, where your image and likeness, Kitty Wells' picture back there, your logo is your property, like it should be. In the other 47 states, you have a right to privacy, a right to publicity. Translation, when you wake up one morning, when Garth Brooks wakes up and somebody's got him singing a song he never sang in his voice, and he didn't authorize it and he's not getting paid for it, well, you can do something about that in Tennessee. Because in 1983, after Elvis died, we got that law on the books. So what happened? About a year ago, RIAA and us, and then the Recording Academy after that, started working on what became the Elvis Act, an acronym for ensuring likeness, voice, and image security. We added the word voice. We also made sure that it covered AI in court actions. And we cleared it up that it lasts 70 years after the death of any artist because that coincides with the federal copyright term. You own your stuff 70 years after you die, after the creator dies. Now, what will happen? It's effective. That goes into effect in 5 weeks on July 1st here in Tennessee. It will do what Graceland's already done. They'll go to a local court. Very important here, Sunday. They don't have to go to federal court because it's cost prohibitive. It costs $100,000 to walk in the door down in federal court in Nashville, and twice that much in New York or DC or LA. They go to a local civil court. They file injunctions. Get Elvis off that t-shirt. Get him off that sign. You can't sell Elvis underwear. You can't do this unless you have permission and you pay for it. And if they continue to do it, fines, civil fines, and they take it down. Now, the question becomes, if you don't live in Tennessee, will you be able to use the Elvis Act somewhere else? We think you can if you do enough business through this state. And so that there will be some court cases, I'm sure, to test that. But it passed unanimously. It's so polarizing. I don't care which side you're on, left or right. Look at Congress, look at state legislatures. All the way back a few years ago to the Music Modernization Act, now to the Elvis Act, it passed unanimously. And we're in the judiciary committees that really exist to deal with politics and the other side. And I think it says something about the uniting force of music, Spotify, that we passed this unanimously. Now, there are proposals for federal versions of this. That's going to take a lot longer. Congress just moves slower.
Mhm.
There are other state legislatures, Texas, Kentucky, Virginia, and others that are contemplating this, but it was a good start Sunday. Now, let me draw a breath and say that's more of an artist bill. For songwriters specifically, and we believe for anybody that creates intellectual property, we have come up with a set of principles that we want to see in legislation. And part of my challenge, Sunday, you're now Congresswoman Graham, is to come into your office. There's a cacophony, a million things are happening. You're watching CNN. You've got the responsibility to protect the world. And we got a minute or two to explain something and let it resonate. And we think we can do that. I know we can. I was with ranking members on both judiciary committees last week as we taped this, and this is really resonating with them. It's a principle called the 4 Ps. And here we go. Permission. If I'm Chat GPT or any generative software, I don't get to learn. You know the great Liz Rose, who's on our board. She helped Taylor Swift write those early songs.
Yeah.
You can't go listen to Liz Rose songs with the whole intent to go copy Liz Rose without her permission, nor can you create anything from it. So permission to learn or to output from AI software. Number 2, payment. If you get that permission, you got to pay for it. And we don't want the government to set the rates. We want them to be negotiated with the copyright owner.
Right.
Number 3, proof. And that's really the game, Sunday. You know, there's a general agreement we've got to have proof, but we would have the software maintain a record of everything it does in perpetuity, shoot it to the cloud in case there's litigation. Now, the government's chomping at the bits to get their hands on AI. There's a proposal to create a new cabinet level agency, other government agencies. We think the free market does it better, but it seems this would be an appropriate role for the government to oversee the proof. And then finally, penalties. A federal bill will not let you go, it can't tell local courts what to do. But we hope we can go to a local court. We hope state legislatures pass it, and any federal legislation allows that. So permission, payment, proof, and penalties, the 4 Ps. And that is what we're trying to get into any AI legislation. Now, there's not going to be anything this year. It's election year. It's Congress.
Yeah.
Probably not next year. And all these little separate bills are not going to get voted on separately. They're going to put them in a package or packages, and it's going to be called an omnibus bill. And we're hoping that those 4 Ps resonate in it. And we'll probably see some kind of vote on AI by 2026 is my guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think like anything, right? We can use it for good or we can use it for evil, bad. And I think Randy Travis's recent release is proof of that. You know, he was there have been some people that's ruffled some feathers, but there's also been people super excited about that. But I think
I'm going to answer that. I got asked that in another interview. And I don't know if my answer was popular. He gave permission. Randy said it was okay, and he got paid for it.
Yeah.
So whether people like the creative part or not, and you can judge that, you can be sad because Randy can't do it. And I know Randy a little bit. He said it was okay. Who else gets to decide? If I'm going to do that for Sundi Jo Graham, Sunday gets to decide. And we've said that for 100 years. So I'm going to applaud Randy. But I closed my eyes first time I heard it. Golly.
Yeah.
A year ago, AI couldn't have done that.
Right.
It's, but you need to be scared of it because I can't tell the difference. It's like Randy Travis sang that song.
Yeah. I do think, though, like you said, he gave permission. I mean, he was there for almost every part of the process, which is different than trying
now,
to.
there should be transparency. We should know it's AI created.
Right.
You know, but
right.
But along with that, as long as you say, look, this is not Randy, it's AI, and he gave his permission, and He negotiated a payment. More power to Randy Travis.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been some good, deep, heavy, yet hopeful stuff, I think. And I
Well,
think you're
stay tuned. We're going to navigate this. There's more news to come. We're not going to tell everything we've got
sure.
planned, but they started it Sunday.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
and
hope,
that's what I think is hopeful in the heaviness is we have people like you and NSAI and David Israelite fighting back and saying, no, we're not going to tolerate this.
not. Well, thank you. And I'm glad I got to ask you from a songwriter perspective, because this is what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about mega publishing companies or record labels. We're talking about Sundi Jo Graham sitting there. Here's the songwriter story. You're the weird kid in school. Every one of them are. Oh, that's that songwriter guy. That's that songwriter girl. What's that all about? Then sometime as you're getting ready for college, you tell your parents, that's what I'm going to do. After the intervention, because
Right.
there always is one, you end up somewhere, probably Nashville or LA these days. There's a few other towns. And you realize, oh my God, what have I done? You go hear Hillary Lindsey sing a song or Lee Miller, and you go, I'm not quite ready. And you grind it out for several more years. You wait tables, you park cars, 4 of you live in an apartment, you eat ramen noodles, and that is every single songwriter, including Taylor. I met Taylor when she's 14. She didn't start off doing this.
Right.
If it hadn't been for her parents' support, Scott and Andrea, this would not have happened. And then finally, one day, after 1,000 no's, paper cuts till you almost bleed to death, that one break happens. And then you maybe get paid, somebody does something, or you do something with your song, and you finally breathe a sigh of relief for 6 weeks till here comes the new guy or girl right behind you. This is tough, but I believe it's a gift. Whatever your spiritual beliefs are, and you know this, Sunday, the best songwriters are able to channel wherever this comes from and then guide it a little bit. And you're going to take $150 million away from somebody that already doesn't make something from this. Songwriters are the most creative geniuses. I'll put them in line with painters ever in history. And we've got to treat you better, we being the world, because that's what we're really talking about. It's not some giant corporation. It's you.
Yeah.
And the person whose heart you're going to touch when those strings or keys vibrate Sunday. That's 100%. What this is about.
100%. Well, thank you for just taking the time to hang out with us today. I've got one more question. Actually, I've got a couple more questions. So
Go
this
right
has been
ahead.
a heavy topic, and I always like to end with a little bit of fun. So I've got some rapid fire questions if you're up for it. All right, here we go. So
the Rain song. That's my favorite song of all time.
I actually don't have that on my list.
Well, it is the Rain song.
Love it. All right.
Number 2, I just changed my number 2. It's been Tangled Up in Blue by Dylan for years. You'll not know this song. Go check it out on YouTube. It's a guy named Tom Kimmel. Called That's Freedom.
All right, I will check that out.
And I think you're going to thank me for listening to that song. It is.
I'm sure I will.
Probably 30 years old, and it's really what love is all about, or what it should be about.
Love it. All right, if you could write a song or record a song with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Elvis. But Elvis didn't write, but I would, if I could sing, it would be, I've got Elvis's logo tattooed on my left shoulder. My uncle, the late Billy Pullen, I was 4 or 5, and he says, "Come here, Barty." That's what they called me. Went to his little den. He put on "That's When Your Heartaches Begin" by Elvis. And from that day, I've been around music. That's why I sit here today. So, Mr. Presley. Close shout out to number 2, Zeppelin. It would be Page and Plant, by the way, together.
Love that. All right. If your life was a song, what genre would it be?
Pop rock. Okay.
Love it.
Well, my life, the way it's been, my professional life, that's been well, but I've had quite the storied life. It'd probably be the Clash. little chaotic there Sunday. So,
Well, I've been there a time or two as well. All
but
right,
I
so
wouldn't take anything for it. I wouldn't take anything for it.
makes us who we are, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, name a song that always gets stuck in your head, and why is it so catchy?
Of all time, the worst one, and it's a great song. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful Gilligan's Island. Once I don't even watch it because once you hear it, I go listen to another song to get it out of my head. I got to listen to a playlist. It's just Gilligan, the skipper too.
Now that's going to be in my head all day.
Fun fact: the millionaire and his wife, and they added the professor and Marianne. It said all the rest. And Russell, what's his name, and the lady that played Marianne, they demanded credits in season 2, so they added Professor and Marianne.
Hey, I can't say I blame them.
Fun fact there, I can't either.
All right, last but not least, I think I know the answer.
All right.
Vinyl records or digital streaming?
Well, it's going to be both. From the sonic thing, vinyl, I still love my vinyl. But even with Spotify, I love the fact that for streaming, wherever we go, the history of recorded music is right there. So I compliment the technology. Let's all find a way to prosper together. So a little bit of both, Sunday. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
You thought I was going to say vinyl, didn't you?
I did, honestly, yeah. I did.
But a little bit of both. Sonically, though, give me analog, turn those tubes up. You know what I'm saying?
Love it. Yeah. Well, Bart, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today before we close out?
I just appreciate you helping with one of our chapter, and I appreciate you getting this message out and just talk about it. And, people ask what we can do about it. Talk about it. Make people understand without all this, layers of stuff I talked about. Sunday should be able to buy a doggone hamburger from her creations, right?
Yeah. So. Amen. Amen to that. Well, we will put all the links in the show notes today for the MLC, NSAI, everything we talked about today. Again, Bart, thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us today, and we truly are grateful.
My pleasure.
Well, my friend, if your brain hurts, that's okay. You can go back as many times as you need to listen to this episode. Thank you again to Bart for breaking down all of this for us today and for fighting for songwriters. Like I said in the interview, it is some heavy stuff, but I also think it's some hopeful stuff because we've got people like NSAI, the MLC, and the NMPA who are fighting for us as songwriters. And if you haven't joined an NSAI chapter yet, here's my question. What in the world are you waiting for? You can learn more at NashvilleSongwriters.com about the chapter closest to you. And you can find all the links from today's conversation in the show notes. And don't forget to tell others about the Songwriting Chronicles. It means a lot to us, and that's how people find out about us. So we appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to my Aunt Esther's podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. And remember this. Keep writing, keep dreaming, and keep pushing forward because your words matter.